So the situation with the Pokemon leak that happened before the Pokemon Presents that detailed all of the DLC and new Pokemon that we would see, the leak on 4chan, that has been proven to be correct with the most recent Pokemon Presents that just ended. But the Pokemon DLC leak with the apparent next Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch 2 or Nintendo Switch Pro or new Nintendo Switch model is starting to seem extremely real based off of some new information that me and my cohorts have digged up, and it's out there publicly for anyone to see. We're going to talk about it in just a bit, but if you haven't seen my previous video where I discuss all of the details of the leak and what happened there, please make sure you check that out. I will be referencing some information from there, but I'll do my best to recap what was going on in that video. So recently, like I stated before the Pokemon Presents on Friday, the 24th of February, there was a random post on 4chan that detailed many of the things that was announced at the Pokemon Presents. So that was beforehand. They got stuff even down to the T, like the DLC being called Hidden Treasure of Area Zero. They talked about the disc-shaped Pokemon. They talked about the Paradox events with Suicune and what's going on there. They discussed the Pokemon with the green mask. Everything that was shown off was discussed in this random post from an apparent programmer at a Pokemon outsourcing company with very poor English that decided to use machine translation to complete this post, which I do think might have been a little bit of a stretch to throw people off of his or her trail. Now, the most interesting thing out of all of this was the fact that they said that they are working on a graphics enhancement patch for the new Nintendo Switch models that will be released alongside DLC 2, the new Nintendo Switch models. So that has got people in a tizzy in terms of what's happening there. Now, obviously, this can be interpreted in terms of what he had to say if you believe the machine translation post. This can be interpreted in multiple different ways. New Nintendo Switch models, as in the Nintendo Switch OLED, a new model. They're releasing a graphics patch that's going to launch alongside that, okay. Or a brand new Nintendo Switch model, as in a Switch Pro, a Switch 2. There's various ways that you can interpret this, and since he said my English is very poor, I use machine translate, that has got people interpreting this in many different ways, or just flat out not believing, or whatever the case is, and that's completely fine. But you cannot sit here and at least ignore what was said, because he did nail all of that information. Now, when I streamed yesterday, we discussed this even more at length, and I got a number of opinions up. And one of the things that really stuck out in terms of what he had to say with the graphics patch and with the DLC is that the Pokemon Company is selling the DLC, but they didn't actually show any gameplay footage or anything from the DLC. So when I was reading it from my story yesterday, I noticed that kind of like midway when I was talking about the DLC, I was like, wait a minute, they didn't show anything from the DLC. So that got me curious. Okay, well, they've done DLC before with a mainline Pokemon game on the Nintendo Switch. Did they show the DLC when they first announced it? Yes, they actually did. If you go back and watch the reveal for the Isle of Armor, when they first revealed that, I think it was January or so of 2020, they showed it. They actually showed some gameplay. It was going to be exactly what it was when they showed it. So the fact that this person said that they're working on a graphics enhancement patch that's releasing alongside the DLC, coupled with the Pokemon Company not showing the game at all using real life people and also looks like CG rendering and just normal artwork for what they showed off, that obviously lends a lot of credence to this potentially happening, that there will be a graphics enhancement, whether that's for the current Nintendo Switch model and them just doing a better job with it, or it's actually a new Nintendo Switch model, a Nintendo Switch Pro, Nintendo Switch 2. I mean, I think that this could be the next Nintendo Switch that they talk about, but you can't really rule anything out based off of how much stuff this person got right, based off of the past history with the Isle of Armor and them showing that DLC. And it's really weird that you would put DLC on sale like that and not actually show it. Now, it's different when it's an expansion pass and you're getting waves of content and they don't show like the, let's say the very end, like let's say the Xenoblade Chronicles, for example, right? They don't show that, but at least they have some content that they show off like, hey, you're gonna get this and it's gonna release in waves. They show something before they sell it, but they showed nothing on this when it comes to the actual in-game content. Nothing when it shows to the game itself that is going to be the big expansion that's not releasing in waves. So that definitely got me thinking that, wait a minute, this is true in some way, shape, or form. And I think that it's going to be a wild, absolutely wild second half for Nintendo. Now, there's been other talks when it comes to people discussing what Nintendo is doing in the second half of the year. Why aren't they going to E3? Could this possibly be one of the things? And I think that I'm not sure if it's relating to that, because there's been times where Nintendo launches a new system. So for example, a Nintendo Switch, they launched a new system in 2017, but in 2016, they went to E3. They just brought one game, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and they just made it all about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and then they announced officially the Nintendo Switch name in October of 2016 with the launch in March of 2017. So I don't think that's the complete reason. It is a case-by-case basis, like Nintendo has said, but it's very, very interesting when it comes down to this, because they showed that DLC last time, but opted not to this time. And something tells me they might not show this DLC all the way until we finally get an announcement of the actual next thing that's happening, or if there is, let's say, another new Nintendo Switch OLED model, right? Like, let's say it's a Pokemon themed model based off the DLC, and yeah, hey guys, there's a graphics patch coming out, graphics performance is going to look better, here's the DLC, we did a better job with the graphics in this one, right? So that could be it as well, could just be that, because once again, it's a little bit vague and you can't really take it word for word. Since he says my English is very poor, use machine translation. I mean, like I said, I think that's just to throw things off, but there was a lot of correct information with that post. Like, so much correct information that this person obviously is an insider in some way, shape, or form, because you don't get the exact name of the DLC, Hidden Treasure of Area Zero, right? 3 days before the event. There's no way that you can just get that right. You have to know what it's called. There's no way. It's just impossible. And then all the different Pokemon listings that he got right, and also the Paradox Suicune and Paradox events that are going down. There's no way that you can just guess all of that when it comes to the Pokemon Presents. So somebody with actual knowledge definitely leaked this, and there is probably something going down. Whether the Pokemon Company is doing a better job with the graphical capabilities in terms of what they can do on the current Nintendo Switch, and there's something else coming, there's always new model Switches coming, or there is actually a next generation Switch, or a Switch 2, Switch Pro, Switch whatever coming out. There's something going on here when it comes down to it. But what do you guys think about all of this? You can let me know in the comment section. And also, the Pokemon version 1.2 is out. Pretty big patch, a number of updates when it comes to bug fixes and crashes and all sorts of stuff. So make sure you guys check out that, go download the update. And it's not quite a performance update or anything. Some people have reported that maybe there are some parts that run a bit better, but without proper testing or anything like that, there's no way that you're going to know. But they did remove the amount of Pokemon and people in certain areas that could cause issues. So they could have done that in other areas, which made certain places run a bit better or not. But not really sure. Once again, nothing that's official in terms of testing, but they didn't really list anything like that either. So don't expect it to do anything like that. Now, let's talk about another RPG here. From one really successful RPG to an RPG in a studio that probably didn't have too much success within Square Enix, and that is Luminous Productions. Now, we do have official word that Luminous Productions will merge with Square Enix this May. So Square Enix Holdings will merge wholly owned subsidiary Luminous Productions, the development studio behind Forspoken, with wholly owned subsidiary Square Enix Corporation on May 1st, the company announced. Now, they talked about this and they discussed how this is an effort to bolster the competitive development atmosphere of Square Enix development groups and their goal for the medium-term business strategy and developing AAA games. Like, there's just a lot of PR talk in there, which is fantastic. The Luminous also put out their own statement as well, talk about how they're going to be merging and joining the talented studios there. But essentially, here's what happened, guys. I'm here to kind of break through all of that and give you guys the real deal with what happened. Forspoken was created in terms of the Luminous Productions after Final Fantasy 15 and everything to create those super high-end Luminous engine graphics games that really take things to the next level. And essentially, they didn't really accomplish that at this point. And especially with Forspoken, that game did not sell up to the expectations that Square Enix maybe would have wanted for the company. Remember, this is super high end, this is AAA. They're trying to develop the best looking in entertainment and have a very big appeal in the Western market, and that just didn't happen. I think that obviously there's a number of reasons with Forspoken why it probably didn't do as well. One, obviously it doesn't really appeal too much to the Japanese audience, but also two, it's on the PS5 only. It's not even on PS4, so it's not like you have more of a fan base to sell to. And also three, it's $70. And then also four, it didn't review very well either, and it had a troubled development being delayed multiple times. So when you factor in all of those things and you look at the type of investment that you're going to need in terms of what Luminous Productions is about, I think that they looked at it and said, you know what? Nah, like, we can't continue to do this. But the really good news with this is that usually people lose their jobs in these type of situations, but that's not the case here. They're just being folded into Square Enix. A lot of these people will be reassigned and put on different things. So it's not like people have lost their jobs, or at least a lot of people will lose their jobs with this Luminous Productions kind of folding into Square Enix or merging into Square Enix. But I think it's very clear that the experiment that they tried here with Forspoken didn't work. And we really haven't heard anything about the sales numbers either. Like, Square Enix has not announced anything. Sony obviously has not announced anything for it. And I just think it didn't really do too well based off the tracking sales that I've seen so far, based also off the Famitsu MPD. So unfortunate, but at the same time, you know, it is what it is. The game necessarily didn't do well. There's a lot of things that were going against the game as well as it launched. But it's interesting to see what's going to happen next with Square Enix. I think that they're going through a transformation as well. And I think that Square Enix is going to look very different within the next 3 to 4 years here. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that happens within Square Enix that changes things up quite a bit. So let me know what you guys think there. But once again, we are pinballing back and forth between successful, not so successful. Now we're back to successful, and that is Elden Ring. Now, the game recently was announced to have sold over 20 million copies across PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Fantastic achievement for From Software, Bandai Namco, especially coming from a development studio that really never had a lot of success in all of the decades that they were around, and how people, gaming journals, told them that make Elden Ring, make From Software games easier, make Dark Souls easier. We want more easy. You got to put those options. And they said, no, we will do what we want and you guys will buy it. And that's exactly what's happened here over the course of the years with Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, and then Bloodborne, Elden Ring, Sekiro. They've gotten better and better at their craft. They've sold more and more on their games, and now we're at this point to where Elden Ring has just been announced to have a huge expansion called Shadow of the Erdtree. Hopefully I said that right. It's currently in development. A release date was not announced. Now, Bandai Namco teased Rise Tarnished and let us walk a new path together. An upcoming expansion for Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, is currently in development. We hope you look forward to a new adventures in the lands between. So this is obviously a big deal for Elden Ring fans out there, because so many Elden Ring fans have cut through all of the content. People are doing mods and all sorts of weird stuff with the game on PC in order to play the game more, and it was pretty much a revolution for many people out there. Very innovative game in a land of multiplayer and weird stuff that's happening. It was a breath of fresh air for Xbox, PlayStation, and PC gamers out there. So I think that this DLC expansion is going to be massive. It is going to be massive. It is going to have plenty of content, and it's really going to take things to the next level and could win. I could win Game of the Year for some people out there, for some publications, much like Witcher 3, the Blood and Wine DLC. That won Game of the Year, RPG of the Year for many people back when that released on Xbox and PlayStation and PC. So I think that this DLC could be heralded that high, considering how much people do love Elden Ring. I'm personally not a big Elden Ring fan myself, but I respect the grind and the hustle from Software and what they were able to accomplish on Elden Ring. So definitely cool there. That's gonna wrap it up for this video here, guys. If you have not seen my previous vids for last week, make sure you check those out, give them some love. Looks like notifications weren't going out last week, so if you haven't seen those, I'd really appreciate it if you do check out those vids. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next video. Peace out.